What's up, guys? Welcome to Bookworm. This is my very first post, so I wanted to kick it off with a bang. I'm starting with one of my favorite books of all time. Most of my reviews are going to be like biographies and business-related books. As I get further into my channel, I may start creating more videos with fictional books. And then, of course, if people start requesting it or start telling me about books that they want me to read that they think are awesome, I'm always up for that too. But today I wanted to kick it off with Jerry Weintraub's When I Stop Talking You'll Know I'm Dead, which is a very aggressive title, but I think it's awesome. I think it's 100% true after reading the book myself. If you've ever seen like the Dos Equis commercials, I think everyone has, the most interesting man in the world, right? I've read a ton of bios and autobiographies and things like that, and there are a lot of interesting people in the world, but if I was to give the title of most interesting man in the world to anyone, it'd be Jerry Weintraub. If half of the stuff in this book is true, which I think obviously I would hope all of it is, but if half of it's true, then this guy is one of the most amazing people on the planet. And I've got some notes here, and I just wanted to cover a couple of things for you guys so you could see for yourself. I don't want to give away too many of the details because I actually want you to read it for yourself and be able to check it out. But I'll go through some of the highlights. I'll try not to do too many spoilers. If you don't like spoilers, then probably should shut this video off right now. But Jerry Weintraub, Brooklyn born, Bronx raised, right? So right off the bat, you know this guy's got personality. George Clooney, actually on the back cover of the book, there's a quote by George Clooney, and a piece of it says, he doesn't just light up a room, he sets it on fire. And you know, I admire George Clooney as well, so you know, anything coming from him, something like that, you know it's serious. Some of his exploits, his first big gig, or one of his first big gigs, I believe, he took Elvis Presley on tour. So this guy goes way back, and he was, you know, when no one could get Elvis Presley, you know, he just made it up in his mind that he was, you know, he was really young. He said, I'm gonna go get Elvis Presley, I'm gonna take him on tour. And, you know, he goes through all these, you know, basically a maze of issues, and, you know, in the end, he's the guy who gets Elvis Presley, and he's the guy who gets to take him on tour. So relentless, hardworking, and he just figured it out. He worked with Sinatra, he did the Karate Kid movies, he did all the Oceans movies like Oceans 11, 12, and 13. So if you've ever seen those, they're awesome. He worked with John Denver, and there's a really cool chapter in here where he talks about working with John Denver. And I'm gonna give away a little piece of the book. So there's a chapter called Firing Ferguson, and it is, in this chapter you just kind of see how slick, or I guess how, what's the word I want to use, clever. You find out just how clever this guy is. So John Denver's having issues, he's going back and forth, and he wants to fire Jerry, right? And Jerry comes to him one day and he says, hey, look, I've taken care of the problem, don't fire me, everything's fine. And you know, John Denver's like, what do you mean? He said, oh, I fired Ferguson. And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, you know, the guy who was in charge of everything, and the hotels, the catering, all that stuff. He goes, I fired him. And he goes, he says, you fired him? He goes, yeah, I fired him. He's done. Don't worry about it. Everything will be better. And, you know, they go a couple more weeks. They do a few more shows. And then John Denver comes to Jerry and says, hey, you know, basically everything's a lot better. Thank you for doing what you did. You know, everything's working out great. I'm happy now. And at the end of the chapter, you find out that there was no Ferguson. He just made that up just because he knew John Denver was in a tough spot and needed to defend himself. So he just kind of gave him an outlet, you know, a fake, or, you know, figment of his imagination, just came up with it and gave him something to go on and something to believe in. So he felt good about, you know, he was the reason why Ferguson got fired, and there was no Ferguson. So, you know, this guy, he figured out ways. That's the main point I would want you to take away from the book is, you know, if you're trying to do something, if you're trying to get somewhere and there's roadblocks, there's always a way to squeeze through. There's always a way just to find your way through, and this guy is probably the master at it. So he married Jane Morgan. Also, her real name was Florence Courier, a huge star of her day, and he credits her for giving him his career, like giving his career its actual start and launching it into what he became. Other notable mentions, he worked with Led Zeppelin, the Moody Blues, Arthur Wirtz, he hung out with JFK. He was in love with JFK, one of his favorite presidents, and then of course he talked politics and played golf with George Bush. So this guy, as you go through the book, you'll realize he was an actor, he was a director, producer, author, and a speaker, and he just goes on all these talks about all the things he did, where he grew up, how he left. I think he left home at a super early age and just got on a train and left. And he was really young, and from then he was on his own and he just made his way. Like underage, I think he was like maybe 15 or 16 or something like that, and just left and did his own thing. And from then moving forward, he just made a career for himself, and now he's one of the most popular, most recognizable, most appreciated people in all of like Hollywood type business. So if you're into these types of books, I highly recommend it. When I Stop Talking, You'll Know I'm Dead. This is the cover. Jerry Weintraub, again, one of my favorite books. And as I'm doing this series, I'm always going to give you guys a book that I think you should read. Obviously you don't have to, but I'll give you guys a book to read through the week, and then at the end of the week we'll review it. So this is the first book, but I've already done the review. So the next book is actually this one here that I think is awesome. It's Screw It, Let's Do It, Richard Branson's book. He's one of the richest men in the world. I think he's worth over $30 billion. Awesome guy, was dyslexic, didn't do well in school, and just made it his own way. So read this book if you can. It's a small book, very tiny, quick reads, and it's actually published by his own company, Virgin Books. So check this one out. And so I'm posting this today, but I'm gonna do these every Monday. I'll do one of these, and then every Friday. That way you get time throughout the week to read a book, and then over the weekend to read a book. So if you like my video, if you like this, if you have any book recommendations or anything like that, or just recommendations for the video in general, let me know. Subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. I'd like to see my channel grow, but right now I just want to be part of the book community. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching my video.